Oh, nothing serious. We were just recounting adventures of the past. On that note, I wanted to share with you some vital information about our quest. When I head back to camp, I share my knowledge about the goblet with Amaurri and Rescandor.
So are you suggesting that we destroy this artifact instead?
Perhaps we should consider, what do all of you think?
If you would ask me, our primary objective is to retrieve the goblet and take it back to Caiaphas, and we are being paid to do so. Deviating from this plan may entail dire repercussions.
We can always never tell what one will do once they obtain power. We can only pray to the gods and hope for the best.
I understand your quandary, my friend, but there's no use in making new enemies if we don't deliver.
Now that I've heard all of you, we'll stick with the original plan. Don't say I didn't warn you. No blame should befall anyone later on.
The next day was set for hard riding. You only stopped for a piddle or to allow the horses to rest and drink. The country road stretches endlessly, flanked by vast farmlands dotted with vibrant crops and grazing livestock. The rolling hills undulate gently under the sun's warm glow, offering panoramic views of the surrounding countryside. Goats frolic along the rocky outcrops, while horses and cows graze lazily in the meadows. The air is filled with the scent of wildflowers and freshly turned earth, and the occasional farmer can be seen tending to their fields. As night falls, the landscape transforms under the veil of darkness. The moon casts an ethereal glow upon the road, and the stars twinkle like distant beacons in the sky. Shadows dance across the fields, and the nocturnal creatures emerge from their hiding places. Just as how it was with previous nights, you make camp less than 1,000 feet away from the road amidst the meadowlands as you find yourself surrounded by a serene landscape. Tall trees provide cover and privacy from prying eyes and potential bandits, their branches rustling gently in the cool evening breeze. The meadowland beneath your feet is soft and lush, dotted with wildflowers and patches of soft grass. As the sun sets, the temperature begins to drop, prompting you to light a small bonfire for warmth. Its flickering flames cast a soft glow over the campsite, illuminating your faces with a warm orange hue. You huddle close to the fire, enjoying its comforting heat, before eventually extinguishing it to avoid drawing unwanted attention. Above, the stars twinkle brightly in the night sky, providing a peaceful backdrop to their restful evening in the wilderness. You are awakened the next morning by a passing rustling caravan. You hear two distinct voices, one from an elderly man and one from an elderly woman. From what you surmise, they seem to be arguing loudly as the occasional shouting reverberates throughout the fields.
I slowly approach the caravan to see what the commotion is about. I make sure they see me approaching.
As their caravan trundles down the country's roadside, the air crackles with tension as the elderly couple's argument escalates.
Why didn't you just pay the blasted aid, Harold?
The wife, Martha, scolds, her voice laced with frustration.
Now look what's happened.
Harold, his face flushed with indignation, retorts,
I won't be extorted by those crooked guards, Martha. It's the principle of the matter.
But now we've lost our entire stock of potatoes and cabbages. What are we going to sell at the market?
Martha cries, her hands gesturing wildly. Harold's shoulders slump, guilt etched across his features.
I didn't think it would come to this, Martha. I'm sorry.
Good day to you. I'm Lieutenant Amaurri Sungward from the Royal Guard of Stormwell. How may I be of service?
As Amaurri approaches the distressed couple, Martha's eyes light up with a glimmer of hope.
Sir,
She begins, her voice trembling slightly.
the town guards took our goods unjustly. We didn't know where else to turn.
Harold hangs his head in shame, his voice barely above a whisper.
I'm sorry, sir, I couldn't do anything.
Amaurri's expression softens as he reassures them.
Worry not. I shall rectify this injustice. How many guards were there?
Martha hesitates before responding.
3, but Harold insists he only saw 2.
Amaurri nods understandingly, then swiftly mounts his horse.
Wait here. I shall return shortly.
With determination in his heart, Amaurri rides off towards the north, leaving the elderly couple with a renewed sense of hope. As Amaurri rides atop his horse towards the town guard outpost, his thoughts are a tumultuous mix of anger and sorrow. The sight of the elderly traders being mistreated strikes a chord deep within him, reminding him painfully of his grandparents who recently passed away. Memories of their kindness flood his mind, intensifying his resolve to seek justice for the elderly couple. His grip tightens on the reins, his jaw clenched with determination. Yet, amidst his righteous fury, a pang of empathy tugs at his heartstrings. He envisions the faces of the elderly couple, their weathered features reflecting a lifetime of hard work and resilience. With a solemn nod, Amaurri steels himself for the confrontation ahead, his resolve unwavering as he prepares to confront the guards and reclaim what rightfully belongs to the innocent traders. As he approaches the outpost, he sees the dilapidated stone structure looming ahead, a symbol of authority tainted by corruption. Nestled along the curve of the country road, the town guard outpost emerges as an unexpected sight for unfamiliar travellers. Its circular shape, constructed of weathered stone, showing signs of age and neglect, boasts 2 floors that loom over the surrounding landscape. Vines creep up its walls, and patches of moss cling to its ancient stones, lending it an air of faded grandeur. The outpost's windows, small and barred, peer out like watchful eyes over the bend in the road. A worn wooden door, slightly ajar, creaks in the breeze, hinting at the passage of countless travellers before. Despite its miserable state, the outpost maintains an aura of authority, silently standing guard over the winding path and those who journey along it. You see a fat, burly man with a thick, unkempt beard and wild, bushy eyebrows standing in front of the building by the roadside. His uniform is stained with food and drink, and his belly protrudes over his belt.
I slowly approach the outpost and speak with a voice of authority. Good day. I am Lieutenant Amaurri Sungwad of Stormwell Royal Guard. I've come regarding the incident with the elderly traders. May I inquire what happened?
Who? This is our territory. You do well to mind your own business.
My brow furrowed slightly, but I maintain my composure. I assure you, I only seek to resolve this matter peacefully. Perhaps we can come to an agreement. I am willing to pay the aid owed, but I must ask for the return of the seized goods.
The fat man's smirk widened as he leaned in, his breath heavy with arrogance.
You think you can waltz in here and dictate terms to me? Eosafre is a long way west, Paladin. I am the law here, and what I say goes. So unless you want to end up in the dungeon for interfering with official business, I suggest you take a hike.
What's going on here, Murdoch?
Amaurri turned to address the red-haired guard, his tone still measured.
I'm simply trying to resolve a misunderstanding. I'm willing to pay the aid owed by the traders and request the return of their goods.
Bah! Without your rank and big sword, you are nothing. You're way out of your league here, Paladin.
I give you my word that I would not lay a hand on you nor use my sword.
Finally, a third man with dark, greasy hair emerged from the outpost. He has a stern look with piercing eyes and carries himself with an air of authority. You regard his rank embroidered on his sleeve.
What seems to be the problem here?
I believe there's been a misunderstanding, Sergeant. I'm here to resolve it amicably.
The sergeant's expression remained impassive.
No, there's no misunderstanding. My men were simply upholding the law.
I tighten my jaw but still maintain composure. I clasp the amulet around my neck and utter some divine words. I see. In that case, then you wouldn't have trouble recounting the details of what actually happened. I activate my amulet of dominate person and order the fat guard to tell me the story in detail.
A wave of bewilderment overcomes Murdoch as he begins to state the events as how he remembered them.
When I woke up, I caught a glimpse of the old trader caravan from the window this morning silently rolling down the road. They pass here every day, early in the morning before we even wake, as they always try to avoid us. I took out the axe and blocked their path. "Pay the aid, old man!" I shouted as I grabbed him by the collar. I saw him trembling, but he hesitated. My temper flared, so I shook him violently and shoved him to the ground while I snarled insults. Meanwhile, Hamish wasted no time, eagerly unloading the sacks of potatoes and cabbages from the caravan. The old man's wife watched helplessly as we seized their livelihood before their eyes.
The sergeant, greatly surprised at what he was seeing, sensed something suspicious happening. He takes out his longsword and slaps Murdoch's face with his glove.
Are you crazy? What are you saying?
The red-haired guard tries to discern what is happening.
Not so fast, Sergeant. Since it is clear that you did nothing on the matter, I believe you wouldn't be needing your eyes, as you are as blind as a bat. I activate my amulet of dominate person and compel the sergeant to take both his eyes out with his blade.
What's happening to me? No, no, no! Ah! Sergeant, what the hell is happening here? I take out my hand axe.
Great weapon of choice. Now, since your friend likes to run off his mouth and abuse people, kindly cut off his tongue for me, will you? I activate my amulet of dominate person and compel the red-haired guard to cut off the fat guard's tongue.
What? I already told you everything you've asked for. No, please. Hamish, it's me, your friend. Snap out of it.
And finally, since you're the one who likes taking things from people, you can chop off your right hand too. I activate my amulet of dominate person and compel the red-haired guard to chop his right hand. He's the 3 silver that they owe. I stayed true to my word.
The town guard outpost loomed in the bright sun, a grim fortress amidst the wilderness. On its pathway, the air was thick with the stench of blood and agony. The sergeant lay slumped against the stone steps, his hands clutching at empty sockets where his eyes once were, his anguished groans echoing through the silence. Nearby, Murdoch writhed in pain, his tongue severed, unable to articulate his torment. The red-bearded guard, now missing his right hand, lay sprawled across the road, his agonized cries joining the chorus of suffering. Amaurri, atop his horse, gazed upon the scene with a sense of grim satisfaction. Justice had been served, and the corrupt guards had paid the price for their cruelty. With a nod of finality, Amaurri turned his horse and rode off to the south, leaving the outpost behind as a testament to the consequences of abusing power.